The evolution of sneakers in NBA video games has been an interesting phenomenon, since it not only reflects the fashion culture in basketball, but also the technological advances in video games and the way in which developers have integrated the marketing of sports brands into NBA titles. In this article, we archive the history and development of sneakers in video games. What video game shoes do you remember most from your years of gaming? Stay here! Basketball games have been around since the late 80s and early 90s. And over the years, we've seen a number of advancements in the world of sneakers, from lighter shoes to more reactive insoles. Furthermore, over time, both players and fans of Michael Jordan always shouted, "Why wasn't MJ there in any fun video game?" Well, he was in a few, including Bulls versus Lakers, Michael Jordan, Chaos in the Windy City, and others. Due to low graphical accessibility, all a player saw were monochrome sneakers, but none very different from the others in terms of a signature shoe. NBA Live and the first focus on sneakers. EA Sports' NBA Live franchise was one of the first to include realistic sneakers within a video game. In its first versions, the sneakers were not the main focus, but some real shoe models, such as Air Jordans, appeared on the player's feet. These early games used 2D graphics and were limited by the technological capabilities of the time. Although the sneakers were more stylized and not as detailed as today, EA Sports was already beginning to include the most popular models of the time. Players like Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, and Penny Hardaway wore shoes from famous brands like Nike, Adidas, and Reebok, although not with a high level of detail. As time has passed, video game systems have become more sophisticated, adding more details to digital characters and to their clothing. The first notable shoe, in a way, was in the classic video game Space Jam, created for the Sony PlayStation and Sega Saturn. We all know the story of the movie, from Daffy Duck getting MJ's t-shirt and his shoes, the Air Jordan 9, but then magically changing to the Air Jordan 11 Space Jam in the final game. At the beginning of the millennium, we saw some of the best consoles in the history of all manufacturers: Sega, Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo. Among all the consoles, the NBA Street Series stood out, which had playable versions of Michael Jordan and all the popular NBA players at the time. In the first NBA Street, you had to play MJ in the final game, and what was he wearing? None other than the Air Jordan 1 Black Red. The NBA 2K saga, by Visual Concepts, began to gain popularity starting in 1999. In the early installments, the sneakers weren't as detailed or as relevant to the game experience, but as the franchise progressed, an increase in attention to details was noticed, including the shoes. In 2001, one of the best mainstream basketball games of all time, NBA Live 2002, was released.
NBA Live 2002.
There were many reasons why this game mattered. Michael Jordan was a standard playable character with the Wizards, while 90s Jordan was an unlockable character.
In the paint. Pulls the trigger. Yeah.
Additionally, this was the first game to feature notable signatures from all brands. These included the Answer 4, the Air Jordan 16, and the Adidas Kobe 1. For NBA 2K3, the franchise began to make an effort to represent sneakers more faithfully, including models like the Nike Air Force 1 and famous player lines like Allen Iverson and LeBron James. For NBA 2K5, a significant advance occurred in this installment, where the graphic representation of the players and their shoes was improved. In addition, specific models of shoes from players like Kobe Bryant, with his Adidas model, and others began to appear. During the years from NBA 2K6 to NBA 2K10, the game began to integrate more sneaker brands, and they no longer only represented sneakers as a player's accessory, but rather they focused more on showing limited editions, exclusive models, and brands that were beginning to dominate sneakerhead culture. The shoes of players like LeBron James, Nike, Kobe Bryant, Nike, and Derrick Rose, Adidas, began to be an important feature, which also reflected the growing relevance of sneaker marketing in real life. after the successful campaigns of the early 2000s, it is surprising that the NBA Live series has not had a presence in the new decade. With the exception of NBA Live 2010. NBA Live 2010 showed Dwyane Wade wearing Air Jordan sneakers, which is how it became known that Flash was going from Converse to Jordan Brand. 2K Sports and Visual Concepts brought a whole new beast to the next generation of systems.
Rose above all. Changed the game and became a legend.
NBA 2K11. This game, which shined on the Sony PlayStation 3 and Microsoft Xbox 360, brought what every sneakerhead wanted: a playable Michael Jordan of the Chicago Bulls, with the ability to wear his signature sneakers on the court, including an arsenal of Jordans and signature models from Adidas, Nike Basketball, Converse, and Reebok. As video games evolved, sneaker brands began to play a more leading role in NBA games, not only as a faithful representation of reality, but as part of culture and marketing. Starting with NBA 2K11, the franchise became even more detailed in terms of sneaker representation. The business model of marketing and collaborations between brands and video game developers also began to become evident. In NBA 2K12, thanks to system updates, you were offered a greater variety of basketball shoes. As new shoes were released, they became available for you to wear in-game. So if you missed the Christmas release of the Nike Zoom Kobe 7 Cheetah, you had a chance to wear them in the game. The same thing happened with the KD 4 Galaxy and the LeBron 9 Galaxy, but sorry, no foamposite. In NBA 2K13, an interesting fact for lovers of retro NBA and galactic teams.
Just when you think you got a clear look, here comes Grant.
In NBA 2K13, which launched on October 2nd, 2012, you had the option to play as the 1992 Dream Team. In these games, we see greater integration with sneaker brands, presenting an extensive catalog of models, sometimes even with real-time releases of limited editions. NBA 2K16. For example, players could purchase and customize their sneakers in-game, something that was new. And brands such as Nike, Jordan Brand, Adidas, and Puma were present with a wide variety of models. Additionally, the franchise launched modes like My Career, where players could establish relationships with footwear brands, deepening their immersion in sneaker culture. The franchise continued this trend, incorporating collaborations with artists and designers, such as limited editions of Kanye West sneakers with Adidas, or Nike collaborations with other designers. In those editions, the virtual sneaker catalog became so extensive that players could feel like true sneaker collectors. In the most recent NBA 2K titles, sneaker customization has become a central pillar. The graphics are so detailed that the textures of the shoes in the games are almost indistinguishable from those in real life. Players can choose from hundreds of models, customize colors, designs, and more. Between NBA 2K21 and NBA 2K24, the developers have managed to recreate the most iconic models in the history of basketball, such as the Air Jordan 1, the Kobe 4, the LeBron 18, and the Derrick Rose 1. Additionally, the game has integrated customization options where players can design their own sneakers, reflecting the current customization culture that predominates in the real world. In the most recent version, the inclusion of sneakers is more than just a visual representation. There is a focus on marketing in the game, and players can even interact with brands through My Career, signing sponsorship deals with footwear brands, which resembles the real campaigns that athletes carry out. The impact of sneakers in NBA video games has gone beyond graphic representation. Sneaker brands have become integrated as part of the basketball narrative, especially in franchises like NBA 2K, where brand collaborations are becoming more frequent and deeper. Additionally, the My Career mode has allowed players to explore basketball culture in a more comprehensive way, including fashion and sneakers as a key component of players' in-game identity. The evolution of sneakers in NBA video games has paralleled the evolution of both video game technology and sneaker culture. What started as a simple visual accessory has become an essential feature that reflects the growing relevance of sneakers in basketball culture and beyond. Personalization, the inclusion of real brands, and the incorporation of limited editions have elevated the gaming experience, making it a true showcase for sneaker and basketball fans. We hope you like this extensive tour of the evolution of sneakers in NBA video games so far. If you liked the video, subscribe now to Station Kicks and follow us on all our official channels. Thanks for watching. Subscribe now so you can continue watching more of Station Kicks.